Peace, family. It's the Hood Mystic representing www.hoodmystic.com. Hoodmystic@gmail.com is the email. It's the beginning of the month, so we are getting ready for another monthly moon sign reading. So make sure you go to patreon.com/hoodmystic. I ain't put up the post yet. I'm gonna put up the post later on today, probably when I get off this live. But I'm giving people the option to choose from the Thoth Tarot deck or the Voodoo Tarot deck. So if you don't want the Voodoo, just say I don't want the Voodoo. I want the Thoth Tarot. I don't fuck around with that, Hood Mystic. If you down for it, I will pull Voodoos this week. So, and we can still do the areas and we can still talk about it. So monthly moon sign readings at patreon.com/thehoodmystic. Just want to thank all my patrons for supporting me. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate the donations. Really appreciate the emails that I'm getting from people that I did readings with over the summer. And it's not necessarily about me. It's about y'all. Everything that I do is to wake people's God up within them. And I personally can't go within you and push a button and wake that force up. You actually have to be interested in waking yourself up and really doing the work. And so that's why on this channel, on these daily energy readings, we put out books, we give out concepts, we talk about astrology, we're intuitive, we do the tarot and all of that, just to, you know, speak to a particular vibration, speak to a particular healing that I feel like nobody is personally speaking to. And so today the topic is nostalgia. And nostalgia, I did not know this until yesterday. The etymology for nostalgia is returning home to a pain. Like it's broken down to going back to pain. And so nostalgia is not a memory. Nostalgia is an actual feeling that people have that imagine that the past was somehow better than this moment. So I'd rather be in that past moment instead of being in the present moment, because the past was so much better. The music was better, the food was better, the air was better, everything was better in the past. And now today is just bullshit, and I want to go back to the past. But how did I get to nostalgia for being a daily energy reading? Well, I did some astrology. I studied some astrology and got to this point. We have been paying attention to Chiron in the North Node a lot based upon its grand trine to Jupiter, but Chiron in the North Node is actually creating a particular aspect with Venus retrograde in the 29th degree of Libra. That aspect that is creating is a learning triangle. So I personally love learning triangles. Whenever I see learning triangles in the charts, I speak to them because I know that's where our transformation is. And so looking at this, a learning triangle is when you have an in conjunction, a trine, and a square that forms a triangle, and it involves 3 planets. So Venus trine Chiron, Chiron being in the 28th degree of Pisces, like you have to understand Chiron being at this degree in retrograde. And part of why I put out the science of being rich and, you know, the way that I've been talking about like abundance and like really changing your narrative is because Chiron is at the cusp of Pisces, the very last signs and the very last degrees in retrograde, meaning that it's going to come back forward to this spot and to this place. But astrologically speaking, if you are born or if you have energy in the 28th, 29th degree of Pisces, then that means that you have done it all, right? It's like the final, like crossing the finish line of life. And so when we talk about our wounds, when we talk about our healing, we are reaching those final, you know, in case you didn't miss, in case you forgot over the summer that we was doing some major healing, why not do a retrograde? Why not go back over this energy? And so when Chiron goes back direct, we can really be the end all be all to our pain. Like we can really deal with our pain on a psychological level. And to reflect on this channel these past 6 months, that's exactly what we've been doing on the daily. Like, you know what I'm saying? Healing, and not just simply healing like those deep core psychological wounds, healing those. So Venus in conjunct Chiron is really a question, because an in conjunction always deals with a particular misunderstanding. So where you have Venus in the 29th degree of Libra, that's commitment, freedom through commitment, freedom through truth. Because that's like so we think about Venus at the 29th degree of Libra, that's the end all be all to relationships. Like you should know everything there is to know once you go through a full cycle of Libra in the realms of your relationship. Now, whether you act upon it or not is really irrelevant, but simply knowing and seeing, oh, this relationship ain't good for me. Oh, this relationship is something that I want to cultivate. This relationship is something I want to work towards. Like, how can we live together? How can we work together and be something like past our fears? Like, this is the misunderstanding. Like, everybody wants to be in a relationship. Everybody wants to do stuff. But when it comes to Chiron in the 29th degree, when you have to really deal with them core pain issues, as opposed to thinking that money, success is going to heal you, relationships is going to heal you. Nothing can heal you until you heal yourself. And Chiron in the 28th degrees and the 29th degrees is specifically speaking to that. And it's like, you know, are you going to imagine a life of you doing everything that you need to do by yourself, for yourself, and thinking that, okay, if I do this, I'm gonna be good, versus like relating to people, showing up in your relationships, being the person that you would expect in the relationship, as opposed to other stuff that we'll talk about later. And so moving down, we have Chiron trine the North Node. And peace to everybody on our live. Peace to everybody watching this afterwards. Just grand risings. Good morning to everybody. Chiron trine North Node is so trines are inherent as opposed to something that is clearly obvious for the world to see. Something that's inherent, something that's deep within us. We could see it if we focus on it, but if we not focus on it, it's more like a wasted opportunity. It's more like a wasted talent, because this is where I got to North Node. Because when we think about the North Node, when we think about, you know, spiritual stuff, we always go into the ancestors, into the past life stuff and things of that nature. But that's not the North Node. The North Node is about the North Node is about peering into the future. And if we're not in our trying in focusing on our inherent nature to move forward, to grow, like we naturally grow, we naturally move forward, we naturally advance. But if we, like, you know, my ex was so bomb, you know, my ex relationship, I had this my last job was better than this job, and my last this, and back in the days, I was young. I'm not a kid anymore, but some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. You know, all of this is blocks, like the major blocks to conscious development, like nostalgia. The idea that, you know, back in the days was better. It was better back then, you know. You know, like that concept is really like a disease if you look up the etymology of it. Like, and you're like, why is that a disease? Like, what's wrong with looking in the past? It's like, if you're not growing, if you're not looking forward, if you're not like being present, then that's like a level of dead, a level of death. And it's not to say that your heart's not beating. It's not to say that you're not thinking and moving forward. But if you look up the definition of life, the concept of life is based upon growth. And you can't grow by always looking back. It's like if we were driving and I was driving constantly looking in my rearview mirror, what would happen? I would get into a crash because I'm constantly looking back. And it's so many people, man, that I talk to a lot of people that have it all, got it together, but they can't stop looking back. They can't stop doing it. And it's like crippling, and it's like, you know, blocking them from everything because we cannot change the past. Nothing that you can do, nothing that you can say, nothing that you can feel is found in the past. And even if it was to be found in the past, that's based upon your present reality structuring to only find the good things that you need from the past to move forward. And the past that you think is the past is not really the past. Because when you look back, you can think back on past life memories. You can think back on your ancestors' memories. Like, you know, all of this is non-local. All of this is a collective consciousness. We are all one spiritually. So looking back on the past can be something amazing. But if you focused on your memories and experiences and, you know, that's ruining your present vibration, I could give you a story. Like, I used to hang out. Like, I used to be like, wasn't necessarily like a gang, but it was just like, I don't know, we was homies or whatever. And like, we did, you know, shit together. We was friends or whatever. We did a lot of stuff, but for some reason that relationship ended, and like I was kind of like a lone wolf. But do you know that a lot of, like, for years I wished to be back in that situation with those guys, and like I miss my friends, like, you know what I'm saying? But that wasn't a reality though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't reestablish that relationship. It was dead. But the mere fact that I wanted it, the mere fact that I used to think about it, put me in a space where I always had negative vibrations in my being because I was looking back to a time that I couldn't get back. Only when I let that shit go. And you know when you let stuff go, when you look back on stuff, and it's kind of funny now. If you look back on stuff and it still hurt, it's still pain you, you haven't fully let it go. You haven't fully accepted the present moment. So the goal is to look back and start to laugh and chuckle. That's really the goal. But if we look back and it's like, oh, I wish we could have those days back. And I say, like, I created a lot of stress, a lot of pain, a lot of negative situations in my life because I've just constantly looked back, and I constantly wanted to reclaim or rekindle some shit that was just gone. And so ultimately that's a level of nostalgia. Now, North Node Square Venus, to close up this learning triangle, is living in the now or not, because we know a square is an irreconcilability. It is something that we have to fully address. So if we're not living in the now, the reason that we're not living in the now is because there has been past situations that have scarred us and prevented us from being present. So if we're not fully in tune or fully realizing that we're not being present because our past, something is blocking us, we need to really change the way that we look at things. And so one of the book of the days, it's actually two, but I'm only posting one. Radical Forgiveness by Colin Tipping really speaks to nostalgia and nip it in the butt. if you dealing with this today and you like always reflecting and always looking back and not looking forward, and like, you know, I had a text message this morning from a friend that I did a reading for this summer, and before the reading, he was like very nostalgic. But y'all don't even know this man had all the talent, all the resources, everything to power his life forward. You understand, like everything that a person needs to go forward, this man had it, but he was debilitated by looking backwards. And if we looking backwards, we cannot see what's in front of us. And if we moving forward, looking backwards, can't you understand the trials and tribulations that you're gonna put on yourself just for the mere fact of not paying the fucking attention? I really hope we can really digest that and understand that. The card of the day is the Priestess. And so I'm gonna do it like I did last Friday, since we still dealing with a Venus retrograde. I'm gonna deal with the shadow sides of this cards. Generally, I deal with the consciousness, or, you know, giving everybody a pump up for the day. Now I'm gonna tell you where you being ratchet at and really get to the shadow of the shit, because that's where you make the changes at. Like, people think that since nobody can see them, that it matters. But I'm here to tell you that, like, people is always watching you. And if people ain't watching you, spirits is watching you. So always know that people light, and it's not even to the point where anybody even knows, like, oh, you was being ratchet, that's why bad shit is happening to you. But you know the cause to your effects. And so if we can't deal with the shadow shit, we not dealing with nothing. Doesn't create an idle feeling in my life. It creates more action and more work for me to do, which I'm ready for. Like, I'm not trying to give you a suggestion that's gonna lead you to an idle life. I'm trying to lead you to a life full of action, full of effort, full of work, full of, you know, coming together. And to be passive in 2018, to be passive in this time, to be passive and just wait for a miracle, you really doing yourself a disservice, because the energy is malleable. And what I mean by malleable means it needs you to interact with it for it to change. The Ten of Swords. It's a level of like immediate action required when you see this card. Like, you've been thinking on this thing for too long. Now it's time to act. And not to do stuff that like bring you failure. Like doing something holistic, something that's going to build, something that matters. And if you aren't doing that, immediately cut that shit off. What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, why must we wasting time when we know for a fact we have purpose? And if we don't know what our purpose is, then that's our goal. 10 times out of 10, somebody criticizing you, somebody talking shit to you, does not have a purpose. They purpose, they think, is talking shit about you. How is that your purpose, to be on social media coming up with hypotheses on how the next person lives, when you got a whole life that you should be living? Ain't nobody, I've never seen nobody come through on a magic carpet levitating. So since we all walking on this earth, we all got 2 feet, we all get sustenance from the sun, the moon holds the rivers together so we can all live, the rivers and the oceans at bay so we can all live. Therefore, ain't no room to criticize nobody. Cause if the sun didn't shine, or if the moon said fuck y'all niggas, we'd be drowning. We'd be living in water world. So we need not criticize, we need to figure out who we are as an individual, and that's where we get to the 6 of Wands. And the 6 of Wands is like, either you are finding within yourself your abundance, your wealth, your self-assurance, your self-mastery, or you're not, and then you're reacting, you're projecting like, you ain't shit, Hood Mystic. Who the fuck is you to be sitting here talking to me like you know me? You don't know me, Hood Mystic. I never said I did. I'm just doing my thing. Like, I ain't trying to make people mad, but it don't matter. That's what people gonna do when they not within themselves, mastering themselves. I have to be the problem. And so pay attention to theatric, impulsive outbursts between you and other people, or maybe somebody's gonna come out the blue with some different type of information, some different type of vibration, like, I want you right now. You need to come over. This is the weekend, Venus retrograde. It's still in effect, you know, it's in Libra now. So what I would do is really focus on those twin flames, them soul deep relationships, as opposed to, like, you know, the surface level shit, the shit that you feel comfortable in, the shit that you feel secure in. Like, really getting outside of that for a second. Because where we're at with the Emperor, the shadow side to the Emperor is like a real rational position, a real rational place. But sometimes that rationalism is a prison. When we can't get out of our rational thinking and we don't have any inner peace and we're just like a mess, you just need to free yourself from the things that are binding you. And the things that's binding you the most is your nostalgia. You've allowed that pain to enter your being. And when you look at that pain, you like, oh, I need that pain. That's my throwback pain. Whenever I really, whatever, like, I don't know, people could just use this at any time. And all it is doing is putting you in a particular prison. It is lying to you. It is telling you that the past was better than the present, and therefore the present, you could just get under your covers, you could just stay in your mind, you could just not act, and everything will be fine. That's just not a reality for me. I have to be the cause to my particular effect. Excuse me. Got the hiccups. A Course in Miracles is just one of those books. It's not even a book. It's a workbook. And it's a lot of like Facebook groups dedicated to this book. A Course in Miracles, just do the hashtag ACIM. What I do with the Course in Miracles, like, I've read the book, but what I've done is, like, my browser, every time I open up my browser, each day is another Course of Miracles like situation. But like, they do daily A Course in Miracles, and I was like, I used to like go on the website and try to search for it every day, but then I forget. But now that's just like that's like my homepage. A Course in Miracles is like my homepage. When I cut on my internet, I see what the thought is for the day, and like, sometimes they come in alignment with my talks. Sometimes it's just like something different. And like, just to let people know, there is some like Christian type of, like, I think they're Christians at some point. They talk a lot about Jesus and shit. So if that's some shit that turns you off or turns you away, don't get this book. But it's not about Jesus. It's about really manifesting some shit in your life and learning how to manifest some shit in your life. And, you know, there's plenty of stuff online that speaks to A Course in Miracles and things like that. But definitely a good book. Definitely a time for us to really be in the present, really be in the future. That's ironic, that old ass picture of me. I'm talking about some damn nostalgia. But hope y'all took y'all notes. I'm almost done with this notebook, family. I got a little bitty section of papers left, about this thick as papers left. We've been getting it in, baby. We've been really getting it in, and I'm proud of us, you know what I'm saying, that we able to grow on this level, grow on this consciousness, and like, you know, let's bring more people in. Let's share this video. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe, Make sure you subscribe and scribe. Make sure you take them notes. Pay attention to what's being said and learn how to utilize this information for yourself so you can move forward, you know. Really tapping into your divine personality and all that, man. It's a beautiful moment in time. It's a beautiful space that we could create our reality. But if we're not actively creating our reality, if we're in a thought space, if we're in a fear space, if we're in a doubt space, that's energy too. That's cause too. And so if it's fear, doubt, anxiety, stress, you're sowing those seeds. And have you ever seen a stress plant grow? Have you ever seen a fear plant grow? I'm telling you, it is an ugly sight. So I used to plant fear plants for a living. I used to plant, you know, trouble trees and stress trees and doubt trees. Like I used to get paid for it. So I'm telling you, that ain't the way to go. Setting the seeds of knowing, setting the seeds of intention, moving forward, educating yourself. If you haven't like checked none of my past videos, like countless books, like I can't even begin to speak on the books that we've been able to touch on and kind of bring light to over these past couple months. So thanks to the family. Patreon.com/Hood Mystic. We about to get kicked off with those November already monthly moon sign readings, and like I said earlier, you will have the option to read from the New Orleans Voodoo Tarot, or we can read from the Thoth Tarot as normal. So make sure you indicate that in your comment. But I'm about to go to patreon.com right now and put that thread up. So be sure, if you're watching this video, to go over there, leave your monthly moon sign readings. If you're not a Patreon subscriber, make sure you subscribe to Patreon. If you haven't subscribed to Patreon and you subscribe within the month, I won't be able to do a monthly moon sign reading. I'm only doing monthly moon sign readings to Patreon subscribers that have paid. A lot of time I've been getting like scammed on a lot of people, but it's all good. Ain't no real scamming, but because it's all information that people need, and some people can't afford $1 a month. You understand? Like 25 cents be a lot. 25 cents a day, no, not even 25 cents. It's probably like 11 cents a day. Not even that shit. Probably like 5 cents a day or some shit like that. 4 cents a day, 4 pennies a day. What is it? 4 times 30, like. Damn, you would have to say 3 cents a day, 3 pennies a day for a monthly moon sign reading. Like that's a pretty good ass deal if you ask me. 3 cents, who's doing it like that? But yeah, I'm gonna sign out today. It's been a beautiful build with the family. I hope this message resonated. I hope we're able to grow from this. But be sure to hit me up at hoodmystic@gmail.com. If I haven't been getting back to your texts or your messages and you like, damn, I really want to talk to dude and he ain't respond, please forgive me, family, and hit me up this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Like, Hood Mystic, I hit you up, you ain't hit me back. Hit me back. This Saturday and Sunday, I'll be able to hit you back. We'll be able to build. So make sure y'all hit me at hoodmystic@gmail.com. And yeah, I give readings to all Patreon members every month. Monthly moon sign readings. You could ask. I know some Patreon members on the live that can vouch for the monthly moon sign readings before we hop off this live. But yeah, I do it every month to all Patreon members. Every month, monthly moon sign readings. This month, I'm incorporating the Voodoo style tarot deck. I said Voodoo style. New Orleans Voodoo Tarot deck. So yeah, have a great Friday, everyone. Have a great weekend. I'll see you guys on Monday. Love you. Peace.